walking you through how to make a simple network using Cisco packetracer. So Cisco packetracer basically has two modes. One is logical mode and another one is physical mode. Logical mode is just like a white piece of canvas wherein we can either configure our own devices and add it, or use the built-in devices available at the bottom left corner of the screen. And on the physical mode, it's just like the city, like it would give you the overview of the city, like we can connect our home city to the other cities, and we can connect between buildings and all that. In this video, let's just concentrate on logical mode. And also there are two modes called real-time mode and simulation mode. So real-time mode is just like the passing from the time the Cisco packetracer has started. So it has been 3 minutes since I started this application. And real time in simulation is just like we can control time. So when we go into the simulation, the time frame starts then and there only. But it isn't the case of the real time. The real time, the time is going in a linear fashion. Okay. So let us configure a simple network. So I'll be using any router, 2901 router. So for you can use any kind of router you wish. So I'm just using 2901, and then a router can be connected to a switch. So I'm just using 2960 switch, and then a switch is being connected to an end device called PC. So it can be a PC, a laptop, or something like that. And then we can connect these devices using copper straight through cables. Usually copper straight through cables can be a router, and the switch should be connected using gigabit Ethernet. So, and then the PCs and the switches should be connected using fast Ethernet. So now the connection has been up. So by convention, whenever the switch is connected, the connection is on. By convention, when the router is connected, it's actually off. So we need to turn it on manually. So we can either use, we have to use CLI interface, but on the real time applications and all, there wouldn't be any command line interface on router. So we need to attach a PC, and then in this terminal we have to configure, we have to connect this cable, and then we have to configure the router using this cable. So in the real world applications, it will be working this way only. So I won't be needing this PC, so I'll be deleting it. Okay, now we have to configure the router. For that we need to go to the CLI. So as usual, the privileges would be user privilege. So with that privilege we cannot be able to, we cannot do anything with that privilege. So we need to escalate the privilege. So for that, the second privilege is the enable privilege, and then the final privilege is configure terminal. It is the highest privilege wherein we can do anything in the router. We can configure settings in the router and all that stuff. So it is the highest privilege available in this router configuration. When we the default privilege is like default user executive mode. While we type enable, it's called as privilege executive mode. And then when we type configure terminal, the privilege is global configuration mode. So wherein we can change the name of the router, like just like host name R. So the name of the router has been changed. You can see the name has changed from router to R. So we can change the name something like that. So for configuring the router, we can see in what interface the router and the switch has been connected. So it has been connected using 0/0 switch, 0/0 interface. So we need to use that to start the router. So for that I have to go to interface, gigabit Ethernet, okay, 0/0. and then I have to set up the IP address. So I'm setting it 192.168.1.1, and then there's some subnet mask of 24, right? So for that we need to give 255.255.255.0, which is nothing but the subnet mask of 24. And then the router is off, and we need to turn on the router. For that we need to type the command no shutdown. So you can see here the router has turned on, and there's a green triangle, which means that the router is on. Now the configuring the router is over. Now we have to configure the PC. We have to go to desktop and IP configuration, and then we can give the IP address of the PC 192.168.1.5. It can be anything, the IP address, and the subnet mask is bar 24, and a default gateway. If you want, we can modify it to the same as the router, or else we can leave it as such. Now the simple network is ready. So to confirm whether our network is working properly, I'll be trying to ping this PC using this router. For pinging, the configure terminal mode won't be giving us the privilege to ping the PC, so we need to de-escalate the privilege. For that we need to type exit command, and then I'll be typing ping and 192.168.1.5, which is the IP address of the PC. Now, as usually, there would be some packet loss on the first try. If we try pinging it again, there won't be any packet loss. Okay, now the network is has been configured correctly. So to confirm the configuration, I'm just I'll be just giving in this mail thing on this router and then the PC. We can see it is successful. The message has gone from the router to the PC. Add simple PD. Okay, and then now I'll be going through a more complex network consisting of 2 switches connected with a router, and then 6 PCs. Okay. So let us have 3 PCs which is connected together. So the PCs conventionally PCs should be connected to a switch. 2 or more PCs should be connected to a switch, and 2 or more switches should be connected to a router. Okay. So now I'll be connecting these 3 PCs to a switch. Okay. For conventionally, the PC should be connected in fast Ethernet. I'm just connecting it. Now the PC has been connected to the switch. So I'll just copy this thing and then paste it, so I don't need to do the same again. And now these 2 switches should be connected to a router. It should be connected using a gigabit Ethernet. And then now we have to configure either side of the router, this side of the router and then this side of the router. So this side of the router is connected using gigabit Ethernet 0,0, and then the other side is 0,0/1. As we already know, we need to escalate our privileges. Let me type no real quick, and then enable and then configure terminal. to escalate our privileges. Okay, and then now we have to use now the since the other, one side of the router is connected using gigabit Ethernet 0/0. So oops, 0/0, and then I'll be giving IP address for this interface as 192.168.1.1. So, and when I type enter, it's showing us that it's an incomplete command. The reason is that we haven't given a subnet mask. So that's the reason we have to give 255, 255, 255 and 0, which is nothing but the mask subnet mask of 24/24. Okay, now the IP address has been done, and then we have to turn on the router using the command no shutdown. And the one side of the router is now turned on. Now we have to configure the other side of the router. And then we'll be needing to escalate the privilege. Okay, and then now the other side of the router, the interface which is connected is 0/1. So we have to use the same interface. And then we'll be configuring the IP address 192.160. Since the left side of the router is 168 family, and we'll be using 169 here. 169.1.1, and then we have to give the subnet mask. Okay, and then we have to turn on the router using no shutdown command. Okay, and then we need to configure the PC which is connected to this one. So this is 168 family. And then the subnet mask, and then we need not change the default gateway. Since it's a simple network, it's okay as it is. So we need to do the same in other PCs also. Since that one was 168 1.5, so I'll be giving it 1.6 here, and then 1.7 here. And since it's a 169 family, 169.5, and this one is also 169.6, and the final thing is 169.7. So we can, I'm not emphasizing you to give the consequent IP address. We can give the IP address of our own wish. It's not mandatory to give the consecutive IP address. Okay, now to check whether this thing is working or not, so we need to try pinging. For pinging, we need to de-escalate our privileges. So I am typing the command 192.168.1.5. which means since it has been pinged from router 1 to the PC2, it's working. So I'll be trying to ping from and router 1 to the other side. So I'll be ping 192.169.1.5. So the ping has been successful between the both side of the router, which means our router configuration is complete. To check whether our network is working properly is that using the simple PDU. So we can see that it's successful pinging between these two things. Let us try pinging PC2 of here and PC2 of the other side of the network. So which means that if the ping is successful, our network is complete. So I'll be showing the other type of thing is called simulation mode. So we can just step through all the things and we can see in real time how the packet is moving from one place to another. And the other cool thing with this thing is that so we can see all the header information and what are the OSI layers which it's using. Since it is connected within the same network, it is only using the 3 layers: application layer, presentation layer, and transport layer. If it is going outside the building and outside the city and all, it will be probably using more layers. Since it's a simple network and it's connected within the same building, so it is using only 3 layers. It's just like an internet service. It's not going outside the city, or it is not becoming an internet service. So that's it from this for this video. In this video I have just explained how to configure a simple network interface using Cisco packetracer. Thank you.